tonight. The federal government takes steps to curb high level of unemployment in the country as the president launches a job scheme to create at least 20,000 job opportunities for graduates annually. Retired Navy Commodore Olawumi honors invitation by the Defense Intelligence Agency following his appearance on Channel's television's program, Sunrise Daily. Cholera outbreak in Borno State kills 43 people, 57 others hospitalized. And Taliban forces take charge in Afghanistan as US forces exit the country. Plus, business, sports, more from our international studios in London.
On business news tonight, federal government to create 3 additional special economic zones by end of second quarter of 2022 to boost development in Nigeria.
On sports news tonight, the senior men's basketball team of Nigeria, the D-Tigers, crash out of the FIBA Afro-Basket Championship after a shocking defeat to Uganda in Kigali.
And from Abuja, House Committee on Customs troubleshoots invite port managers to explain congestion in the nation's ports. Director of Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, highlights abandonment of 5,000 containers across the nation's ports as a major challenge.
President Muhammadu Buhari has launched a post-NYSC job scheme that would create new opportunities for 20,000 graduates annually. This is part of efforts to support young Nigerians interested in entrepreneurship. Participating virtually in the Nigeria Jubilee Fellows program from the State House, the president affirms that the program, which is consistent with ongoing policies that have resulted in 5% economic growth in the country, would equally provide an opportunity for young Nigerians to build capacity over the years by interacting with mentors already engaged in various industries. The president encouraged all eligible Nigerians to apply for the Jubilee program, while encouraging private sector organizations to join in by providing work placement opportunities, mentorship, and funding.
The launch of Nigerian Jubilee Fellow Program, being a fully paid post-NYSC work placement program for Nigerians, will provide an opportunity for mentors who are already engaged in various industries and have gained relevant experience and build capacity over the years to provide mentorship and support for the young Nigerians that will be on the program. Beyond the skills and work experience, we will be building a new culture of mentorship and guidance that can chart our new course for skills development and work experience in our country. I set up the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy Steering Committee to coordinate our work to fulfill my promise to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. This is building on the positive results from the economic recovery and growth plan and the targeted response to the effects of the coronavirus pandemic with the economic sustainability plan. These efforts have yielded results, with Nigeria recording its biggest economic growth in 6 years, with a GDP growth of 5% in the second quarter of 2021.
Meanwhile, the Presidential Visitation Panel to Federal Tertiary Institutions has submitted its report to the Minister of Education. The report contains infrastructure and administrative difficulties, as well as recommendations on how to address the challenges in all 88 federal tertiary institutions in Nigeria, comprising 38 universities, 25 polytechnics, and 21 colleges of education. The Minister of State for Education, Mr. Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, who received the report on behalf of the federal government, says the recommendations will be given accelerated implementation with a view to addressing the challenges identified by the panel and end the circle of industrial disharmony in the sector.
Inaugurated in April this year, the Presidential Visitation Panel to Federal Tertiary Institutions submit their report to the federal government.
Professor James Okoro.
88 federal tertiary institutions were visited by the panel, comprising 38 universities, 25 polytechnics, and 21 colleges of education, to ascertain the state of infrastructure, finance management, and the relationship between staff, students, and management.
Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife.
One after another, chairmen of the various visitation panels submit their reports to the Minister of State for Education, who assures that the recommendations will be given accelerated implementation.
The white paper that will be drawn from the recommendations of these reports will address the challenges thus identified. It is hoped to mitigate the incessant friction between staff unions of these institutions and government and result in the much desired industrial harmony. I want to assure the nation that government will give accelerated attention to the recommendations and the white paper that will be produced from these reports.
Outside the hall, some of the chairmen of the visitation panel highlight their findings and recommendations.
What we saw is that in most of the universities, a lot has been spent, but university education is not cheap. More has to be spent. But also, we have to provide more infrastructure for our children to learn. And then the issue of disruption of the academic program, which is as a result of inability of government to meet its obligations.
Our recommendation from advocacy is very clear. We think polytechnic education needs to be revamped, revisited, and assisted. They need to develop their own line of recognition. There's no reason why you cannot be a professor when you are teaching in the polytechnic.
It is hoped that the recommendations by this panel will be implemented in order to end the problems in the country's tertiary education sector, which includes the lack of infrastructure, incessant strike by lecturers, and in some cases, low quality of graduates.
Today, the president received a delegation from the All Progressives Congress led by the chairman, caretaker and convention planning committee of the party and governor of Yobe State, Mai Mala Buni. At that meeting, the Anambra State governorship election came to the fore. Our correspondent, Gloria Mezoke, captured the event.
5 governors of the All Progressives Congress, led by the chairman of the Caretaker and Convention Planning Committee of the party, Governor Mai Mala Buni of Yobe State, arrived at the State House and are received by the President Muhammadu Buhari.
After you finish with the audit, you can proceed.
They officially present the governorship candidate of the party for the November 6th Anambra governorship election, Senator Andy Uba.
I formally welcome you with great pleasure for winning the candidature, to participate as a gubernatorial candidate of your state. I certainly wish you the best of luck, and I will very closely continue to follow you. I'm anxious for your success.
An open endorsement by the president, symbolic of an acceptance to the candidacy of Senator Uba. The Anambra candidate is surprised and shocked at the president's acceptance.
I was surprised at the endorsement of Mr. President. What he said to me today came from his heart. Everybody was shocked at what he said. He said, I've been looking forward to seeing you, looking forward to working with you, and I wish you well. I'll be following you so that at the end, Anambra will be APC state.
According to the chairman of the party's caretaker committee, Governor Buni, the party is waxing stronger in Anambra State and is ready for victory.
So this is election. And a serving senator just crossed over Senator Stella Odua. So you can, and former Senator Joy Imodi also. So that tells you how ready we are and how APC is growing and waxing stronger in Anambra State. And that's how we are sure of victory come November 2021.
Reacting to what some might have described as a division within the Uba family, the Imo State governor maintains that discussions are already ongoing.
When you talk of family here, the political family is APC. You may be a biological brother, but you're not a member of my party. it doesn't mean that you are my brother, politically speaking. So as APC, as a family, we are united, and we are going to unite more in Anambra State.
In spite of the current grievances within the party, it appears the delegation is not deterred, drawing strength from the recent defections into the party and maintaining hopes of winning the Anambra governorship elections in November. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
Retired Navy Commodore Kunle Olawumi today honored the invitation of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, who confirmed this to Channels Television, said he represented the retired military officer at the friendly chat this afternoon in Abuja. Mr. Falana, in a telephone conversation with our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shiele, said, "I confirm that Commodore Kunle Olawumi had a friendly chat with the officers at the Defense Intelligence Agency this afternoon. I represented the retired military officer during the chat in strict compliance with the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act." Commodore Olawumi's meeting with the DIA today comes about a week after he granted an interview here on Channels Television's breakfast program, Sunrise Daily. We're in Ondo State now, where Governor Rotimi Akeredolu has taken a major step to stop open grazing by signing the Anti-Open Grazing Bill into law. The measure is in accordance with the Southern Governors Forum's resolution at its last meeting in Lagos. With this accomplishment, Ondo State has joined the list of southern states that have passed and signed the measure into law, which meets the Southern Governors Forum deadline. The governor signed the bill in his office to ensure that the law is firmly established in the state to tackle the issues arising from open grazing policy. Moving on to Kwara State, as part of efforts to curb kidnapping and insecurity there, the governor has held a meeting with various Fulani groups and elders to seek solutions. A Fulani group on its part believes one solution could be resettling many of them and availing them the opportunity of Western education.
Kwara State, home to Yoruba ethnic groups, but with a significant Fulani population of Nupe and Bariba minorities, is known as a state of harmony. The narrative is slowly changing as the state currently battles different forms of criminality, especially kidnapping, with a recent incident around Odowa in Okero local government area. Worried about these vices, the state government is meeting with different ethnic groups to guarantee peace. This particular meeting is with leaders of various Fulani groups in the state, as the governor urges them to work with government and other stakeholders to prevent crimes.
You may have heard in the news that Southern governors gave a deadline for September for abolition of open grazing. And since that announcement was made, we in Kwara had tremendous influx of Fulanis into the state. It's become a major problem for us. So there's a need to engage the ethnic Fulanis in Kwara on accommodating those that are coming in and how to manage the influx.
To the Fulanese, lack of Western education could be attributed to the actions the nation now witnesses, as their leaders call for better education and enlightenment within this group.
This is a blessed generation. Everybody knows. Even the non-Fulani person will like to be associated with a Fulani man because of the good characters that have been embedded in us from generations. But Your Excellency, sir, our problem that has become a problem in Nigeria today is the problem of education.
The police command on its part seeks better cooperation of the public, and information sharing will also help.
Our work here is to protect every person, and we rely on you to give us information. Because if you don't give us information, we don't know, we don't have magic eyes, we don't see.
The state government had earlier held meetings with traditional rulers in the state, and efforts are in the pipeline to also hold meetings with farmers to find a permanent solution to the difficulties the state faces.
In part two after the break, 45 people die in cholera outbreak in Borno State. That's in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. If it has joined us, you're watching the news at 10 right here on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal government takes steps to curb high level of unemployment in the country as the president launches job scheme to create at least 20,000 job opportunities for graduates annually. Retired Navy Commodore Olaomi honors invitation by the Defense Intelligence Agency following his appearance on Channels Television's program Sunrise Daily. Cholera outbreak in Borno State kills 43 people, 57 others hospitalized. And Taliban forces take charge in Afghanistan as U.S. forces exit the country. The federal government says it's considering taking stricter measures to contain COVID-19 vaccination hesitancy once vaccines are made available to all government and corporate entities in the country. Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, stated this at the bi-weekly news conference in Abuja to give updates on the country's COVID-19 vaccination exercise. According to him, citizens have a right to accept or reject the vaccines, but the government also recognizes that those who have been vaccinated also have the right not to be infected by others.
Thank you very much.
It's the bi-weekly briefing to give an update on the COVID-19 vaccination exercise in Nigeria. So far, only a little above 2.8 million people have received their COVID-19 vaccine in the country, out of which less than 1.5 million people have received their full vaccination. Vaccine hesitancy remains a major challenge in Nigeria, and the government says it's contemplating enforcement of a stricter measure to scale up vaccination.
Once these vaccines are made equitably available to all Nigerians, then we will have to have a frank discussion about justice, fairness, and liberty that exists around vaccine hesitancy. Your human right stops where mine begins. So you have a right to refuse vaccines, but you do not have the right to endanger the health of others.
Globally, only 5 billion doses of various COVID-19 vaccines have been administered. 2.1 million people have also received their full vaccination. These statistics is, however, low in Africa, as 52 countries administered less than 95 million doses of vaccines. Only a little over 35.1 million people have gotten full COVID-19 inoculation. Notwithstanding, the WHO says there is hope for the continent.
The good news is that increasing vaccine supplies raise hopes that the continent will meet the target of vaccinating 10% of the population by the end of September.
And as schools prepare to resume for a new session, the UNICEF country representative makes an appeal.
Teachers, you're going back to school over the next 2 months. Get vaccinated, protect yourself, and encourage others to do the same. The issue of vaccination more generally, which protects thousands of children every day, needs to be taken seriously, and you can only do that if you're protected yourself.
Nigeria is currently experiencing a third wave, and healthcare professionals say vaccination remains the only means of reducing hospitalization and deaths resulting from the virus. Legal matters now. A federal high court sitting in Lagos today froze an account of the Kogi State government in Sterling Bank PLC, housing the state's salary bailout over a 20 billion naira loan obtained from the bank. Counsel to the EFCC, Abbas Mohammed, informed the court that the 20 billion naira loan meant to augment the salary payment and running costs of the state government, was kept in an interest-yielding account with Sterling Bank, and that the order was necessary so as to preserve the rests and abate further dissipation of the funds in the account. Justice Tijani Ringham granted the order to freeze the account pending the conclusion of investigation or possible prosecution by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. The EFCC says instead of using the money for the purpose it was meant, Sterling Bank PLC, acting on the instruction of the Kogi State Government, transferred the money from the loan account and placed same in a fixed deposit account. He concluded by saying the Sterling Bank PLC is yet to present any credible evidence to show that the facility is well secured. In his ruling granting the application, Justice Ringham directed the EFCC to publish the court order in a national newspaper. He also asked the Commission to make quarterly report to the court on the progress of its investigation. The judge then adjourned the matter till December 1st for the report of investigation. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Abuja today refused to hear a fresh bail application filed by former chairman of the defunct Pension Reform Task Team, Abdul Rashid Maina. The vacation judge, Justice Ahmed Mohammed, refused to hear the bail application, which was moved by Maina's counsel on the grounds that it was contentious. Mr. Andrew Ocholi, counsel to the prosecuting agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, opposed the application, saying he had filed a counter-affidavit and a preliminary objection to show that Maina was no longer entitled to bail. Justice Mohammed, in his ruling, held that the application was contentious and as such could not be heard during the court's vacation. Back to health matters, as a cholera outbreak has claimed 43 lives in Borno State. The 7 local government areas affected the most are Gwoza, Kaga, Hawul, Magumeri, Damboa, Maiduguri Metropolitan Council and Jere. The Commissioner for Health, Juliana Beatrice, who stated this today in Maiduguri, also said there are 559 suspected cases, while 57 people are in hospital.
Position on declaration of cholera outbreak in Borno State. Despite decrease in number of cases across the state, however, as we are still in the season, there is need to step up responses across the state. For long, Borno State Cholera Preparedness Plan has been in place, which all partners are to buy in or to key in. On this note, and in line with current development, on behalf of the good people of Borno State, the Honorable Commissioner of Ministry of Health, in my capacity, hereby declare the outbreak of cholera, and with this, all stakeholders are to play appropriate roles and ensure the situation is put under control. Lives lost must be minimized and be brought to zero level.
It's another win against human trafficking as police authorities have intercepted and rescued 22 people in Niger Republic. The victims were intercepted on their way to Tripoli in Libya and have now been repatriated and handed over to officials of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking Persons, NAPTIP. Addressing journalists at the NAPTIP command in Sokoto, Zonal Commander Abubakar Bashiru confirmed the command received the victims, who were between the ages of 15 and 20. He said the victims, mostly from the southern part of the country, were handed over to the officials of the Nigeria Immigration Service at the Ilela border. According to him, NAPTIP has commenced investigation to track those responsible for the heinous crime against the victims, and that he was saddened that despite sensitizing the public against the danger of trafficking, parents of some of the victims remain accomplices in committing the crime. Officials of NAPTIP have identified Sokoto State as a source, transit, and destination for most trafficking merchants. Meanwhile, more calls are coming into support for the girl child. Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, adding his voice, is asking states to play their part in ensuring that they implement girl child policy in the grassroots level. He was speaking at the National Dialogue on Girls hosted by the Africa Child Policy Forum. The 2020 Girl Friendliness Index scored Nigeria 39th out of 52 countries surveyed in Africa, putting the country in the less friendly zone. According to the Vice President, despite all efforts by the government to make the country more girl-child friendly, states and local governments have an even more important responsibility to implement these policies at the local levels in areas of health, education, and security.
Significant strides have been made on the African continent in the last 3 decades to improve the plight of girls. These strides, however, are not sufficient, according to the African Report on Child Well-being for 2020.
We need to continue engaging in multi-sectoral collaboration between ministries to ensure progressive realization and immediate protection of girls.
The survey states that girls in Africa are most likely to be victims of trafficking, sexual abuse, and labor exploitation. African girls get married much younger and experience female genital mutilation. Girls in Africa are discriminated against in marriage and inheritance. African girls don't get good education and are more likely to drop out of school. The survey rates Mauritius, Tunisia, and South Africa as the top 3 girl-friendly countries. The worst countries to be a girl in Africa are South Sudan, Chad, and Eritrea. Of the 52 countries surveyed, Nigeria ranked 39th. Multiple kidnappings in schools have made the plight of girls worse in Nigeria. 4 kidnappings have been targeted at girls in 2021 alone. Activists call for a state of emergency in the education sector as regards the protection of the girl child.
Develop girl-friendly laws and policies and repeal discriminatory laws. The second one, invest in girls' education at all levels. Eliminate violence against girls in all settings. Initiate comprehensive social protection programs, especially targeting girls in impoverished communities.
The Vice President gives hard knocks to the states for this poor rating.
It's very important that the states and local governments ensure that there are gender-responsive measures, that ensure that they implement gender-responsive measures that will transform the education systems and address the barriers that inhibit girl-child education. And all of this must be done very actively by the states.
Just to give you an idea of the sheer size of this problem, the woman you're looking at on your screens right now is the legal advisor to the president and the vice president of Nigeria. She had her first child at the age of 13. 26% of Nigeria's population are made up of girls under the age of 18. The need for girl-child-friendly policies are more crucial now than ever as the country positions itself for the challenges it's facing right now and the plans for its future. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
In another development, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, has adopted the minimum cut-off marks for 2021 admissions sent by tertiary institutions. This means that there will be no uniform cut-off marks for 2021-2022 admissions. JAM Registrar Professor Ishak Oloyede made the announcement at the 2021 policy meeting in Abuja. According to the new arrangement, universities are not allowed to go below 120, while polytechnics and colleges of education have 100 for admission.
This is not the final score. Only very few of them. This is not the final score. So, determining this, I would have suggested that let's approve for all of them what they have, since it's not going to be the last score. But everybody, before you can start admission, you must have disclosed your minimum. And then you now go on and build on it. So nobody will say a minimum is imposed on him or her. So our own suggestion would have been for degree awarding, let us approve what they have said, because that's not the end. They are still going to add post-UTME. They are still going to add WAEC. Institutions are to recommend candidates for admission after having presented to the board the following information through CAPS. Your quota of the institution, minimum score for each UTME, minimum score for direct entry. And I want to emphasize it. For direct entry, there is minimum. The highest that somebody can have is 16 points. But the lowest allowed by law is 2.
Let's bring in Gloria Mezoke now from Abuja studio for more on the news at 10. Hi, Gloria.
Hello, Marachi. Good to see you. And we begin with the Nigerian Ports Authority, where at least 5,000 abandoned containers at the nation's ports have been said to be responsible for the port congestion. Managing Director of the NPA, Mr. Mohammed Bello, stated this during an interactive session with the House of Representatives Committee on Customs. They further list some of the challenges experienced at the ports, to include extortion at illegal checkpoints around the ports, mounted by the police. Our correspondent, Terry Ikumi, reports.
The House of Representatives Committee on Customs meets with players in the maritime sector to address the issue of port congestion and debate on ways to improve operations at the nation's ports. The lawmakers are concerned about the monitoring of importation and exportation, sanctions on shipping lines, among others.
It is equally important for Nigerian Shippers Council to tell us, this committee, what is doing to monitor the excesses of all the shipping lines in trying to kill the export business by leaving export full containers at the ports and load empty containers for juicy import freight.
I want to report to you on that we have actually streamlined tariffs of shipping lines. That is no longer an issue as far as our maritime industry is concerned. Regarding container deposits, Mr. Chairman, there is a sanction mechanism that the Shippers Council has in place where there is a violation and where these deposits are not refunded as at when due.
With the issue of port congestion as the leading challenge at the ports, the Ports Authority alleges that security operatives also contribute to the menace.
The first problem is the issue of extortion. You have multiple checkpoints that are just springing up. And these checkpoints are manned by police officers. At times you find men in uniform, either naval or military, escorting vehicles illegally. At times in a day, you can count 15, 20, 30 checkpoints within the Tinkan-Apapa corridor. And it's really affecting the flow of traffic. There are over 5,000 containers across the ports that are overtime cargo. A cargo is overtime after 90 days.
Submissions from the interaction suggest that the volume of cargo is increasing and there must be a corresponding increase and expansion in the capacity of the terminals to meet up with cargo clearance. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Commuters and residents plying the federal road linking the Mambila Plateau, which houses the proposed hydroelectric power project site, are appealing to the federal government to consider the road for rehabilitation owing to its dangerous and deplorable nature. They also stressed that the road has exposed them to death, as many commuters who could not maneuver their vehicles through the rugged roads fall into ditches.
The Mambila Plateau in Taraba State, northeast Nigeria, is the country's northern continuation of the Bamenda Islands of Cameroon and is blessed with an abundant natural mineral resources. It is also the highest plateau in Nigeria and has an average elevation of about 1,600 meters, 5,249 feet above sea level. The Mambila Plateau is the proposed site for the hydroelectric power project and is a choice destination for tourists. But all these expectations are faced with some difficulties as the area is gradually faced with a deteriorating road network. Commuters and residents here say they suffer beyond expectation, especially when it rains, which depicts total negligence of their needs.
In fact, per week I spend almost 10,000 naira to fix my car due to the problem of the road. But all what we need federal government to intervene by fixing this road so that we have easy movement from here to Yembu.
On the community level, the traditional ruler of Saudana Chiefdom says engagements with the federal government through the Minister of Works, Babatunde Fashola, has yielded no solutions.
Anything to do with the federal government, you must have somebody to follow up. If you don't follow up, even if you have everything there, if you don't have anybody who will follow up, you will not get those things. And, we don't go to Abuja unnecessarily like that. We have to get permissions, and I have to be financially equipped to go back there and continue following the fires again.
Worried by the situation faced by its citizens, the state government has given marching orders to the contractor handling the Bali, Seti and Gembu federal roads to return to site and fix the road for the benefit of the residents, despite the fact that the federal government does not give a rebate to states for fixing federal roads.
His Excellency directed the contractor through the Minister of Works, and we have to call him, we meet with him, and ask him to resume. And that is the stand of things as I'm talking to you now.
Residents are hopeful that the untapped mineral resources and the proposed Mambila hydroelectric power project will open up the area for development and uplift their living standards.
The Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, has paid a one-day working visit to Kano State Governor Umar Ganduje while on an assignment to confirm Kano as one of the selected states to head Technology and Innovation Center in the Northwest and seek all hands on deck for sensitization across the state. The minister says President Muhammadu Buhari's administration is committed to improving Nigeria's global competitiveness ranking by promoting substantial application of science and technology innovation and creating a knowledge-driven economic development.
What we have been trying to do in order to promote innovation in our country is to make sure that we promote this interaction between our universities, our polytechnics, our research institutes, and government. Let everybody and industry work together. Let the research that we do in our research centers, in our research institutes, let that research be driven by the need of industry. Because when you do that, then industry will be very willing, to commercialize, to convert those research findings into products and services.
We have almost everything. What we require is sensitization. What we require is the connectivity. Because we have the raw materials, but there is no connectivity. So they remain as raw materials and perish as raw materials, since there is no connectivity. We have the manpower. What is required is the vision, to see what is our target in different entrepreneurship.
Well, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike is optimistic that the state will earn foreign exchange from the healthcare sector when his administration completes its cancer and cardiovascular diagnostic and treatment center. Governor Wike disclosed this after inspecting the level of engineering work at the site in Obiapo local government area. The governor, who also inspected the progress of work at a proposed site for a world-class estate in Port Harcourt, says providing the right infrastructure to meet the aspiration of the people is the hallmark of politics.
It's another day of project inspection by Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State as he prepares for another round of commissioning of projects in September. Accompanied by his political associates and staff of the contracting firm Julius Berger, Governor Wike makes his first stop at the proposed site of a world-class estate in the Noabali area of Port Harcourt.
If you remember what that place used to be, it used to be Ambrobal then, is a mangrove area. It took us time to subfill not less than 16 hectares of land. Today, We brought in Julius Berger to provide infrastructure, layouts, water, all the necessary things that are supposed to have in residential quarters.
Thereafter, he makes his third visit in 1 month to the site of the construction of a 25.9 billion naira ultra-modern cancer and cardiovascular diagnostics and treatment center in Romuakuta area of Obiakpo local government, named after a former governor of Rivers State, Dr. Peter Odili.
Most of our people have died because of heart diseases, not being able to diagnose it on time. And you ask yourself, how many people have body to travel overseas? Okay, even by the time it's been diagnosed, the body to even go overseas becomes a problem. So to us, we have to do something to make sure that we save the lives of our people.
Meanwhile, the company handling both projects is promising to deliver on record time, according to specifications, despite obvious challenges.
Some projects we are ahead, some projects we are slightly in delay because of the rain we are facing now, but I'm sure we will deliver everything what we promised in time and in the quality he expects.
The motivation for infrastructure development, according to Governor Wike, is to meet the needs of the people, which should be the basis of politics.
Well, President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled with the Shehu of Borno, Abubakar El-Kanemi, over the death of his elder brother, Alhaji Abba Fari Gabai. According to the president, the El-Kanemi family is steeped in rich history and renowned for knowledge and scholarship. The president, in a statement, described Alhaji Abba Fari Gabai, who, until his death, was the district head of Mongono, as a great man of character and remarkable integrity in his own right. The president added that Gabai lived his entire life in the service of his people, and his valuable advice will be greatly missed. But that's it from the nation's capital. We turn now to Anne Warodo, who is standing by in Lagos for business news.
Thank you, Gloria. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with Nigeria Export Processing Zones Authority, NEPZA, saying it is seeking areas of partnership with the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission to attract more investments to the nation's special economic zones. While speaking at a meeting with the Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission, Ms. Yewande Sadiku, the Managing Director of NEPZA, Professor Adesuba Adesoji, says the synergy is aimed at improving foreign direct investments into the country to create more jobs.
If we are really to develop economically, we have to do much more than that. Considering the fact that within the same period, China grew its special economic zones from less than 500 to over 3,600. We've been stagnant. We've only had 2. But I can assure you that with the support of the President of Nigeria, President Muhammad Buhari, and his ideals in terms of using the special economic zones as a strategy for economic development, I have been mandated by Mr. President to start off 6 and to deliver at least 3. I can assure you that by this time next year, we will be delivering 3 special economic zones, one in Katsina, one in Ilorin, and one in Lagos. And 3 special economic zones will be delivered, and we will start work, and that is when we will actually need to work very well with the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission to promote investors into these zones. And that is one critical area where I think we should be able to collaborate.
The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies, including Russia, will meet tomorrow, Wednesday, September the 1st at 4 p.m. West African time to discuss the previously agreed increase of 400,000 barrels per day for the next month. Analysts expect that Cartel will keep its oil output policy unchanged when the group meets, and it will continue with its planned modest production increase. Nigeria, which is a key member of the International Oil Producers Group, will keenly keep focused on tomorrow's meeting, as this is expected to have an impact on the country's oil revenue. Meanwhile, oil prices fell today, with demand expected to drop after Hurricane Ida shattered U.S. Gulf Coast refineries on Sunday. And over to the equities market, where continued negative trajectory continued today, booking an additional 55 billion naira loss on the market. Ini John Mekwa has the details.
Hello and welcome to the stock market report. Well, 55 billion naira has been removed from the total value of listed equities on the Nigerian exchange on the last day of the month of August, and that has left the bear in dominance. Well, what a way to end the month. Analysts connect this to profit-taking by investors. But let's look at the activity chart now. The deal was lower today compared to yesterday. So volume and value were higher compared to yesterday at about 426 million units traded for 1.96 billion naira. Now, let's look at the top gainers. Top gainers had Transco Hotel gaining 10% on its share price. Honeywell Flour, about the same percentage, to close at 4 naira 28 kobo, while Morrison closed at 2 naira 3 kobo. On the flip side, Nigerian Breweries lost almost 10% also to close at 49 naira 45 kobo. 27 decliners, 16 gainers. A negative breath at the end of trading today. Let's hope we'll start the month of September differently. That's the stock market report. I'm Ini John Mekwa.
That's Business News tonight. Thank you for watching. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Amarachi. I'm Anne Nwawado.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Anne. And this just in, the Department of State Services says it has uncovered alleged plans by some subversive groups and individuals to undertake a negative media campaign against the service. The DSS further states that the aim is to further use fake news, propaganda, and malicious narratives through sponsored articles, among others, to undermine it. The service says that it has steadily monitored these activities, their perpetrators, and therefore wishes to inform the public to disregard the emerging trends and patterns. In a statement signed by its public relations officer, the service reassures its commitment to the discharge of its mandate and will not be distracted or silenced, advising those behind deliberate efforts to run it down to desist from such acts. Away from our shores now, U.S. President Joe Biden has again defended the U.S. troops' rushed exit from Afghanistan, saying if the U.S. had stayed, despite the previous administration promising to leave, then all bets were off. He says he was not going to extend a forever exit. The president's address came as the Taliban celebrated the last flight out of Afghanistan, carrying the last of U.S. troops. He says U.S. strategy has to change and does not need to have troops on the ground to fight terror. Simon Pusey has more.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Taliban are celebrating their return to power following the departure of the last US troops from Afghanistan. The last US military flight left Kabul airport earlier, marking the end of a 20-year presence in the country and America's longest ever war. Following the pullout, Taliban fighters were seen exploring the airport and taking over its facilities, including a hangar with US aircraft. Meanwhile, Germany will wait for the Taliban to install a new government to see if the Islamists will honour their pledge to allow civilians to leave Afghanistan on flights from the capital's airport. Rescue teams across Louisiana are searching for people left stranded in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. About 5,000 National Guard members have been deployed to aid search and rescue. In addition, more than 25,000 workers from around the country have mobilised to support power restoration in the state. At least 3 people are confirmed to have died, but the governor of Louisiana said that he expected the death toll to rise considerably as many stayed home to ride out the storm. As Ida continues to move inland, it has weakened to a tropical storm, but the National Hurricane Center warned that heavy rain could still bring flooding to parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. Thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate as a huge wildfire looms over a major US tourist town, filling the air with choking smoke. The Caldor fire has already torn through more than 700 square kilometres, destroying hundreds of buildings. The blaze has now moved towards South Lake Tahoe, the main resort town in a popular area. Car maker Toyota is resuming operations of its fully autonomous vehicles at the Paralympic Games village in Tokyo following an accident. Services of the e-pallet pods were halted after a vehicle hit a visually impaired athlete last week. The athlete was not seriously injured, but had to pull out of an event because of cuts and bruises. The company said that operators would now be given control over how fast the vehicles travel. The death toll from the collision of two riverboats in Peru's largest Amazon region has risen to 20 people, with more than 50 still unaccounted for. The accident took place on the Hualaga River when a boat full of passengers crashed into a freight barge amid dense mist at dawn. Firefighters, policemen and sailors are in charge of the search for those who disappeared. Video footage shows rescuers carrying bodies of victims as survivors of relatives cry on the riverbank. The leader of Tanzania's main opposition party has appeared in court to face terrorism charges. Freeman Mbowe, chairman of the Chadema party, has been behind bars since July the 21st. The trial at the country's High Court opened under tight security, with most journalists banned from the courtroom by police. His supporters have denounced the trial as politically motivated. The UN Security Council has renewed for a year's sanctions imposed against targeted individuals and entities in Mali for obstructing the 2015 peace agreement. The sanctions include a year-long travel ban and an asset freeze to last until the 31st of August next year. Those targeted are accused of involvement in planning, implementing or perpetrating acts that violate international law, humanitarian law, including attacks on medical or humanitarian personnel. China has released photos that were captured by crew members for the Shenzhou 12 mission from space. Photos taken by Chinese astronauts showed the breathtaking scenery of the Gulf of Guinea, the Ethiopian highlands, the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean from space. The astronauts entered the space station core module Tianhe on June the 17th. The crew will continue to carry out scientific and technological experiments in space before their planned return in the middle of September. And finally, a former Olympian has become the first ever female to land a front flip on a mountain bike to dirt. Caroline Buchanan successfully pulled off the front flip on the jam line on the renowned course as the 8-time world champion went on to win the women's best trick category. The competition in Germany is known for being the perfect environment for bikers to try incredible tricks and reach new limits. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
And the main news again. The federal government today launched the Nigeria Jubilee Fellows Program, a job scheme designed to create at least 20,000 job opportunities for graduates annually. And that's an Easy 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.